Never share.
I don't know how to.
Oh, well, we're live
And
now,
now we're
everybody.
live.
Yep. Oh,
Ooh, a vet.
God. We
knew you had
invite
good
Sean
taste.
back on the show for the first time in a year, and he's still using the same background. I mean, yes, it's helping, Derek, him having a vet in the background. But, oh, wow. See, all of a sudden, we've been sitting here. We were late because Sean, whatever, couldn't
Technical
get the camera. Now
difficulties.
he's in the center. He's got this green screen centered. He's now in when
Look at that. All
I don't know.
right.
He's kind of in focus when it goes dark, but
Kinda.
so obviously Will's not here tonight.
Obviously.
The guy on the lower screen has a beard, but has a little too much hair on top of his head. So,
I mean, I could go fix that if you'd like.
so
I can take care of the hair.
and
You
he
make it
deals with
long
some
like
sort of
Will's.
realty company with ERA.
That's exactly what we are. We're a simulated realty company. That's what we do.
Oh, so you sell property in the Sims?
I sell
Ooh.
I sell meta property.
Ooh,
I have a really nice house right beside Snoop Dogg that I'd like to show you.
Is it an NFT?
Everything's an NFT.
Yeah,
What's
know.
not an NFT?
I don't know.
It's our next car
Bitcoin?
purchases
Or
are going to be.
Is Bitcoin NFT? I don't even know. I don't get that.
It's a non-fungible token. Yes.
Okay. If you say so.
Well, Toby, you don't need to type. You can still watch us while you drive. Just remember, the screen shouldn't be facing the driver. But
You do what you got to do.
we can pretend Musk built your car. Which, by the way,
Your life is in your hands.
I finally, after 6 months of hearing about it, Googled Lucid yesterday. That's a freaking badass car.
Yeah, Lucid is actually just next or right next door to Logitech in San Francisco. So while I was out there just now, not a couple weeks ago, we ate lunch in Lucid's cafeteria a couple days.
Nice.
Everybody at Logitech going to be driving Lucids now?
I don't know, man. I mean, they're definitely expensive vehicles, but
They start at 87, so I mean it's a fully loaded Model 3 or it's a base Model S.
Half a house.
Everything's half a house. Have you bought a car lately?
I haven't bought one lately, which is really weird. We haven't bought we bought the van a year and a half ago.
Oh man, Sean, I thought of you the other day, and I meant to send it to you. I saw on on Marketplace was a like late 80s, early 90s. Now I don't remember what year, but the turbo caravan. Yeah.
With a manual or an automatic?
I don't care.
I believe it was a manual.
Either way.
To be honest, it's still a Chrysler transmission. Chrysler never exactly had the
here's the thing.
It's not exactly the transmission out of a Viper.
You mean it's still a Chrysler?
You can turn the boost up in that thing and run 11 second quarter miles, but it really doesn't matter which transmission it is. It's going to hand grenade. It's going to explode multiple times, but as it explodes, you're going to be really happy. It's an 11-second minivan from the 80s. It's got to be wonderful.
So, is that an automotive milestone? Is that something?
No. That's an automotive gravestone.
An 11-second minivan in the 80s. I mean, if they would have marketed it and called it a Cyclone or a Typhoon, it would have been a big deal.
Well, from the factory, it was like a 16-second minivan or 17. Like it was a slug off the showroom floor. But I mean, you can tune it. You can go crazy with it.
What do I want to say? That was so it had the 5-year, 50,000-mile warranty.
Speaking. Can we talk about warranties? Can we tangent off on warranties, or it's been a while. I don't want to just come in and tangent. I don't.
I mean, why not? I mean, is the history of the automotive warranty a milestone? I mean, In some ways, it kind of is that you'd actually have a warranty on something, right?
The warranty I'm going to talk about has to be a milestone. Because I didn't know this existed. I don't know of another warranty in the automotive industry that's anywhere close to this. And over the last couple of weeks, I have started looking at potential replacements for the Alpha because the Alpha is getting up there in mileage. And the last thing I want is the Chevette is, if I could get the LS swapped Chevette or the 427 Chevette that was on Bring a Trailer a while ago, I'd take that. But I stopped in and I looked at some Genesis, the G70 Genesis, 20-year, 200,000 mile powertrain. That's a milestone. That's humongous.
That's not from the factory though, is it?
I thought the way that they made it sound, it could be a dealer thing. I don't know.
No,
I mean, but Hyundai's 10-year, 100,000 mile from the factory. So
as a dealer thing, not all of them do it, and you've got to jump through all the dealer hoops. And I did that with my last Hyundai until about the third time I went to the dealership to get my oil changed for free, but it wasn't, put it this way, free was paying way too much for the service you received. So you might get a 20-year, 200,000 mile warranty, but you better have every I, dotted, every T crossed, and every time they say you need a cabin air filter, you better have them replace it twice during the same visit. It's,
can I dot my T's and cross the I's? Or
only if you're dotting your T's with a little heart.
Well, okay, I can do that.
Or a little circle with a little smiley face in it.
I would do the heart if I had anything with an N badge on it. Hyundai right now is making me smile.
I almost drove through the Hyundai dealership, one of the cities I was in today, because they had an N Velociter.
It's a bad ride, man. It's a bad ride.
I was afraid if I would stop, Brandy would find out my car buying issues. Because I probably would have, if the numbers would have worked, I could have probably come home with that. And she would have killed me because she never got to drive the Mini yet.
you don't know it, John, but she actually has a tracking device on your phone, and she would have known you stopped at a dealer, and you would have been in trouble when you got home, whether you bought it or not. So,
wait. What's the date today? It's the 19th. I've made it this far this year. Have yet to buy a car this year.
We have a car sitting outside right now that we've had for 3 years.
Had for what?
3 years. 3 years.
3 years.
Well, see, you got to this point that I got with my cars. I started to keep cars 2 years, but I had 2 cars, so I was still buying a car a year.
Right.
And actually, I think I really got to the point of keeping them 18 or 19 months. So
we had the Challenger for 2 years, but the Alpha, I mean, we love the Alpha. It's an 80,000 mile Italian car.
Fix it again, Tony.
It really hasn't been bad. It really, I mean, we've had some electronic stuff, but nothing. I feel like I should.
Who was I? I was
nothing detrimental.
I was talking to a couple of guys. I think it was yesterday, and everybody agreed. Mechanicals on the car, the actual pistons going up and down, crankshafts going round and round, valves going up and down. That stuff doesn't break in cars anymore. I had a conversation with Ed, who was a guest on the podcast a few weeks ago. Well, probably about 4 months ago or so. He had a buddy that had a Toyota with like 180,000 miles on it. And he said something, I guess they were hanging out at his shop, and Ed said, somehow they got on the subject of oil changes. And Ed said to his buddy, when's the last time you had your oil changed? I don't know, 20,000 miles or so. Oh, we got to do it. So Ed ran up to the parts store and they changed his oil that night. And Ed said, now at 185,000 miles, come over, we'll have a beer, we'll change your oil. It's Ed's private shop in his backyard. And he didn't see the guy for a couple of months, and he came over for another party, and he drove his Toyota over, and he's, Oh, how many miles you got on that thing? 206. Change the oil? No. So they went through the whole rigmarole again. Rigmarole, is that a weird term?
Is it changing? Is the oil changing itself now?
No. What Ed ended up doing is they changed the oil. He sent a sample of that oil off to have it tested, and it came back and they said perfectly fine. You can continue to use it. So, been in the car 26,000 miles, and there wasn't enough metal or anything to show deterioration. So mechanicals on the car, that's the long way of me saying mechanicals on the car, we've got solved. If we put, a Holley 4-barrel carburetor on these things and got rid of all the electronic BS, yeah, we might suffocate, air pollution and that. But they never break. We put all these electronics on it. That's the stuff that breaks. That's the stuff that terrifies me. That's the stuff,
Well, and it even that, it speaks to, we've got the rotating assembly figured out, and all the tolerances and everything working just right in the mechanical components. But also, to what you just said, we also have the lubricants figured out, the additives packages, all of the correct things for the lubricants to make sure that the way that's put together is properly lubricated. And they've done studies on that. When you're even when you're low, like a quart of oil, and you add a little, it essentially rejuvenates the entire additive package in the entire oil in the oil in your engine, right. Not just that one quart. I'm agreeing, John. We've got a lot of things figured out, and it's not that's breaking.
Yeah, my grandfather had a 2.3 Ranger. Like, I think it was the early 90s 2.3 Ranger, and it burnt oil to the point where it was just changing its own oil. You had to put a quart in it about every week and a half or so. It was just a constant refresh. But it literally, the valve stem seals got bad enough to where there was enough oil getting through and burnt that it was forcing you to put a new quart in, but it never got worse. It started doing that at like 200,000 miles, and he had it. It's like a 420,000 mile Ranger, and it wouldn't die.
The hole only can get so big that it's leaking through.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had them.
Is that a challenge?
I've had them that you put a quart of oil in. Same time you put gas in it. Every fill up, you just knew you needed to put a quart of oil in it. Yeah. And if you happen to overfill it a little bit, maybe I didn't drive it quite as hard as I did the last tank of gas, it eventually level out. So
yeah, exactly.
You met John. You met Daryl Keel. Used to be the pastor at the church we used to go to. Daryl had a Prius for 400,000+ miles. Original batteries, and it's still running. It will not die. I don't even understand how you get the original battery packs to be in that thing for 400,000+ miles.
It's interesting, because I was just having that chat with somebody at work yesterday and talking about that, and it happened to not be automotive related or car related. It was actually talking about snowmobiles, because he'd just been out snowmobiling back home in Michigan, and he was talking about the fact that he's got I think it's like a late 60s, early 70s snowmobile. And he was whooping the snot out of brand new snowmobiles in drag races and all this stuff. And we were talking about the fact that every once in a while, you just get that one machine that it's assembled the same as everything else. It's, it's all the same parts. It's all the same components, it's a production vehicle. But for some reason in that one, everything just jives and is just right and just makes it the perfect machine, and it never dies. It can whoop the snot out of anything new. And I think that's true. And that sounds to me like what that Prius is. Sorry, Prius, if we're English.
He couldn't get it to die. not that he tried to get it to die or anything, but it was always a topic of discussion because it was like, how many miles will this thing actually go? Because I had heard nothing about the factory batteries being able to last that long. I'd always heard that the factory batteries in those things were not necessarily immediate throwaways, but they weren't good for 150,000 miles or anything like that either. But this one just
Well, right, but was that actual or was that factory recommended? You know, they still recommend they still recommend oil changes at like 3,000 or 5,000 miles,
which is crazy. That's
10,000 at
that is
minimum.
Crazy. In a daily driver, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, in a track car, yeah, do what you got to do. If you're
10,000 mile oil changes, that's where what my Mini's at. They're perfect. I mean, it's only designed to get you to 50,000 miles. I mean, you only got to change the oil 5 times in the thing, and then the warranty's over. So why do we care?
There you go.
I mean,
Mercedes is a 20,000 mile interval, 12 months or 20,000 miles, whichever comes first. But when you lease it, you can only when you lease it, you only put 10,000 miles a year on it.
Yeah, is it BMW or I want to say I talked to somebody. It was either BMW or Porsche that they don't even the oil light comes on. The computer basically says it's time for an oil change.
Well, that's what
Porsche will do that.
Yeah, is it Porsche?
Our Alpha does that. Yeah, Porsche will do
it. Doesn't even. It's not even like go by mileage. It's the car will let you know.
Porsches don't even have dipsticks. You can't even check. You have to go into the diagnostics on the dash to actually check your oil level. You can't
lots of cars are like that. I don't even think my Mini's got a dipstick in it. I'm not sure. I've only opened
You're in it every day.
It does. John. I was going to say it does when you're driving it.
You're in it every day.
Yeah, but I'm going on Monday to get the oil change because I bought the maintenance plan. I get all my oil changes for free, and it cost me $100 so that I can get 5 free oil changes that are $100 oil changes. So what moron wouldn't do that?
Me,
so
I don't own one.
Your free oil changes cost $20 a piece, is what you're saying.
Yes, at the BMW dealership, which I made the appointment.
Yeah,
Ford. If I have a inkling I want to get my oil changed, it was $49 every time. Didn't matter if it was my Edge, my SHO, my Fusion, semi-synthetic, rotate the tires, everything, $49. So like $54 out the door. And I could just drive in and it'd get done. Never had to be there more than an hour.
Leave it to BMW to figure out how to charge $20 for a free oil change. That's perfect.
Call what I want to say, BMW up 3 weeks. We can tweak, I've got the first day we have open is such and such, which was next Monday. And I could get in at 7:30, 8 o'clock or 8:30. And I took 8:30. I really wanted to take 7:30 so I'd be first, and I knew I would at least get in and hopefully get out. But I like to sleep a little bit too. So
yeah, sleeping's overrated.
So Derek,
hey, how's it going, guys?
What is your automotive milestone you were thinking of when the topic was thrown out the other day?
You think there's one?
Only one.
But there has to be a key one that you go, damn, this is a really, really, good idea. It's like the Mercedes Gullwing behind me in the picture. There's a milestone. Hey, let's put doors on a car so when it flips upside down and catches fire, you can't get out.
And then,
well, yeah, but when they put doors on it, they no longer running the magnesium body. So,
well, it doesn't burn quite.
It didn't burn as fast.
And 70 years later, we'll figure out how to fix that by putting
bombs on the hinges,
rocket engines that blow the doors off of it when it goes upside down. Perfect. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Derek, you're working in a place full of automotive milestones.
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I?
Well, yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Aren't you? I mean,
I think so. Last I checked.
Rotary powered Corvette and done.
Yeah, but there were only two of
That
those.
works.
That wasn't a milestone because they only built
Only
one
two.
of them.
Now they built two.
Oh.
A 4-rotor and a 2-rotor.
Well,
And it
that
fills
goes
on,
back,
hey, Phil.
that goes to my saying. You got to try everything twice, just in case the first one went wrong. So they obviously tried it twice, and no, it was destined to be wrong.
There you go.
So sorry, Phil, if you're out there.
I'm trying to think of automotive important milestones.
Well, I mean, I think honestly probably one of the more significant milestones, and this is there's a lot of different, I think, classifications of milestones, that you can look at, but for ease of repair and maintenance of your engine, I would say the removable head from the engine. That was a major milestone. Having a removable head on the engine rather than any type of jug assembly or monoblock, blind head monoblock, anything like that, but a removable head from the engine so you could take that off, actually have full access to the valves, pistons, everything at one time. And it's maybe not a milestone, let's say, in the development of the automobile or anything like that, but it really is a milestone in maintenance and repair of an engine in the automobile.
So, we can't agree or disagree, but
no, we can.
I want to say,
I think we can disagree.
I don't know
that's
if
what we're here for.
that's that big of a milestone. I mean, yes, it's an evolution. I mean, I'm thinking the 08 Maxwell that I worked on. It had little things, it had jugs, so it didn't have the removable head. You got to remove the jugs, but to access the valves, they were brass plugs or whatever that unscrewed, and you could get to the valve train without ever taking the jugs off the block or anything. If you're going that way, if you're going automotive milestone, and we got there, and I don't know why the hell we're still not there. Going to a canister oil filter as opposed to the cartridge that was forever and forever and forever. And then we went to this thing in the 60s, and it seemed to be perfectly good until the 2000s. And now everybody's went back to the damn, canister thing as opposed to just a single piece oil filter.
Well, I mean, in that case, how about just an oil filter in general?
I think putting an oil filter
early engines didn't have oil filters.
That's more of an innovation than a milestone.
Yeah, that's
True.
I think that's still evolution, but then again, you evolve. Was the what do I want to say? I forgot.
Awesome. Great conversation.
Automotive milestone. I would venture even, run flat tires to me is kind of, it's an evolution of the tire, but it's really a milestone that, they're still not the best thing. And, your sports cars don't come with them, and everybody, they're not the best. I want to say best riding tires and that, but I've got them on my Mini, and they're sure a hell of a lot nicer in the model that I've got on that car than
hang on, John, because
were 6 years ago.
You're titling the show "Important Milestones," and we're picking apart the term milestone. And of course, you're throwing out that I threw this out, and what was I thinking about? But I just looked the text up because I was pretty sure I didn't use the word milestone. And my text was, what if we discuss the most significant developments in automotive history, both production, aftermarket, etc.
Yeah, this is we're definitely talking more innovation.
Yeah, not milestones. That's really where I was headed. I think you named the show wrong.
No, I think I just changed the topic on you, and I didn't like your topic.
He just wanted to take what you said, which was an absolutely lucid idea, Derek, and turn it into something that didn't make sense.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
are we talking the Lucid? I think the Lucid's a really big milestone. I think it's probably going to be replace the Tesla as the it car for Hollywood.
I don't think it is. Tesla has too much momentum.
No. Everybody's got a Tesla. I want to be different. I'm an actor. I'm on a movie. I make $20 million a picture. I don't want to have the same damn electric car that everybody else on the street has.
You still want a Plaid?
Well, did you see they finally
Prius?
Maybe it's not. It's an evolution. Did you see somebody actually came out with a thing that goes on the Plaid so that you have a round freaking steering wheel now?
Have you sat in one with the yoke?
No.
It's stupid.
Well, yeah.
It's really
obviously
stupid.
That's like trying to drive an 82 Knight Rider replica. It's the same damn steering wheel.
It's as soon as I just happen to have a steering wheel right here. As soon as you do, like you turn the wheel to the point where you need to do this, it's just stupid.
Well, you can't do hand over hand turns.
Yeah, in a daily driver that is not an 11-to-1, doesn't have an 11-to-1 rack in it. It's just you have to cross over way too often, and it doesn't make sense in a street car.
But why? You just put your hands on the steering wheel, let them rest, and the car does everything for you.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with no.
Well, there's I would even put it as a milestone is as we're getting more and more advanced with self-driving cars. I mean, Volvo is supposed to have they just announced in the last week or so that they're going to have is it level 4, which is full autonomous driving car on the market within the next 3 to 5 years.
That is a milestone.
Wait, who said that?
Volvo.
Volvo.
Oh, Volvo.
Yeah. And that is absolutely a milestone. That marks, I think,
that will be a change to cars.
A fundamental change in mindset when it comes to how the masses look at a vehicle. And a lot of people ask me, and I don't know why, but a lot of people have asked me over the years if you could get in a car and like after you've been at Daytona racing for 3-4 days, if you could get in a car leaving the speedway, recline the seat back, turn it on full autonomous, and let it drive you back to Birmingham, Alabama, would you? And without hesitation, yes, for me. But I don't see any reason that it can't be the best of both worlds when it comes to an autonomous vehicle, a fully autonomous vehicle like that. I don't understand why it has to be all hands on or all let the vehicle do whatever it's doing. And people talk about it like it's an absolute one way or the other. And I don't get that. And coming from a high performance driving perspective, I love driving cars fast. I love it. I love the feedback that I get, but I also know that I'm 51 years old. And at the end of a track weekend, I'm tired. If I can sit there and let the car go for 12 hours and I'm just game on. Throw my CPAP in there, plug it up. I'm good to go. That's a milestone. And even the dog agrees. I heard that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No.
Actually, I
think the dog was just shaking
her head. No.
Exactly.
I think the dog agrees.
So Dana's over here getting all technical on us, trying to post links to things, that are trying to show that we're not talking about an original topic. Thanks, Dana.
Okay.
I had to look at it though, because I saw in the link that says the first mass-produced automatic transmission, which kind of got me thinking. I wanted to see and they're literally talking about the fluid-driven automatic transmission. Because I think it's kind of interesting when you talk about transmissions, because we really had what an automatic transmission is prior to the automatic transmission. Of course, they were just called planetary transmissions, and you had to shift them by foot with pedals. But they were doing essentially the same thing that automatic transmissions do. So I had to look that up.
Well,
Hey guys, how's it going?
I'm sorry. I was trying to look at something with one of these links Dana sent.
John, you're supposed to look at that after the show.
Well, we have to discount the one with AutoWise because they had something about finally it adjusted or caught up, but they had something about resto mods on their homepage. So,
ooh, Jason, I don't know. 2013 first combustible car, the Tesla. Are we talking about when it's just sitting parked somewhere?
No. The Italians kind of got that down in the early part of the millennium.
Yeah.
Have you never been at a racetrack and just seen a Ferrari just catch on fire?
Yeah, and I mean, and then we have to talk about what about after they're impacted. I mean, we got to go back to the Pinto, and
no. See, that's an outside factor coming in. A Ferrari just sits there and. But wait, let me change that because we can't say Ferrari; they'll sue us.
But I already said
Italian cars or certain brightly colored Italian cars, will just sit there and poof. While you're having coffee at Starbucks or whatever hoity-toity place.
They're really good at it too, and when they do it, they're gone. Like they're as good at that as AMF era Harley Davidson are at just sitting there leaking oil.
But we just had determined that leaking oil is a good thing. And somebody did comment earlier, and I'm sure it's a friend of Derek's, that you really can't knock total loss.
Yeah, that's Matt. Yeah. I agree with him. Total loss oil system, great systems.
No, not even spontaneously combustible. You just stand there and watch certain Italian cars, and they just go poof. And that was happening back with the 360, I think, when they started to come up with these adhesives to glue bond aluminum to carbon fiber. So yeah, I can't. I'm sorry. We can't give that innovation to Elon as much as he might want it. We can't.
No, we can't. I don't think he wants that one. He's got enough things that blow up on a regular basis.
Well, maybe we should. Let's get Elon to tweet it about it. The guys on No Driving Gloves said, and Elon can go with that. Just be sure to hashtag No Driving Gloves in that, Elon.
Yes. Hashtag @, all that good stuff.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Exactly.
Fire away, Elon.
Oh, too soon. Fire away. Oh,
never too soon.
And remember,
so there you go. I mean,
John, flamethrowers. So
that's true. You were just talking about bonding adhesives for not only panel bonding but chassis bonding, all of that's done. But thinking about that makes me think about what about the first unitized bodies that were coming out back in the 20s 30s era of unitized automobiles. I mean, that's a pretty huge innovation. I mean, it didn't last long because it was very complex and very difficult to do and expensive. But
eventually,
that whole idea of a unitized system, it eventually comes in, but there had to be that groundbreaking done in the 30s.
I didn't realize that a unibody construction went all the way back to the 30s. I had no idea. I thought that was much more modern than that.
Well, I want to say, wasn't the Airflow one of the earliest ones?
The Airflow is one of the earliest, yeah. And then there's some, Bud, the Bud Corporation built some of the first all steel bodies in actually, I think the first one was like 1912. Wasn't unitized, with the chassis, but it was an all steel kind of somewhat unit construction body that was very interesting as well.
I'm all
Well-
in. I've learned a thing.
No, I was going to say I can kind of agree with you on that one, Derek, because why I said airflow is I remember seeing publicity in that. Not that I was there in the 30s, but you see the advertising,
Oh,
the
yes, you were.
articles. I mean, I am old, but I don't think I'm the
No, but
oldest
you're
on the
right.
show for a change.
I mean, the cool thing about their advertising was, I mean, they literally, one of the videos they put out was one of their test drivers in the car, literally rolling the thing down a giant dirt hill, probably somewhere on the proving grounds. And the thing landing on, rolling and flipping up on its tires, and basically the guy getting out and walking away. And the car still looked like it did essentially at the top of the hill, just with a bunch of dents in it.
It was
Whereas
a
had you done that
roundabout.
with,
You roll a ball down a hill.
yeah, but I mean, really, had you done that with
Yeah.
any other car of the period, the body would have probably ripped off the chassis and, had severe collapsing.
Say you put an
Of the
eye out
structure.
with the splintered wood.
And then Volvo
Yep.
took it several steps further and said, "Here, park your oil tanker on top of our wagon."
Heck
Well,
yeah.
if we're going milestone innovation, we talked about Volvo earlier with potentially full autonomous driving cars. You got to give it to them on the 3-point seatbelt too.
Mhm.
Volvo's done some amazing stuff,
Yes.
without a doubt.
Boxy but good.
I have it's vehicular. It's a vehicular milestone. It's racing related, but I mean, yeah.
What?
Well,
I'm back.
your total loss oil systems did that to me. So, my idea of a total loss oil system is when I've over revved it and there's a hole in the side of the
Yes.
block about that big. Yeah, it's the day that someone finally decided that sitting with their legs over top of the differential and the motor right in front of them,
Oh yeah.
and a
Slingshot.
and a rail.
Yeah.
The
Slingshot.
day that someone went and moved the seat in front of that motor, that's got to be a milestone. That led to so many more innovations. And I think it was Don Garlitz that did that.
Wait, you mean like having like a mid-engine or a rear-engine platform? Sorry.
I didn't mean that, but
Hmm.
I didn't mean that. What I meant was someone literally not having their special parts draped over a rear end pumpkin. For
what can go wrong?
What could possibly happen?
Nothing.
Like, it's how the human beings need to go fast. Truly just pushes all sensibility right out of the way. It's just, we must go fast, therefore safety does not matter in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, I would love to know when that evolved in the human brain. Like, I want to know, were there like, early cavemen, like, I'm gonna like jump off this cliff just to see how fast I can go. Like, I need to know.
There were 2 cave people. There was one saber-toothed tiger, and the first race began at that moment. As soon as that tiger turned around and saw the 2 cave people, race number 1 began, and we've been going fast ever since. Crazy.
But you're talking about drag racing and sitting on top the grenade with like you say the family jewels very much intact.
Completely insane.
I mean, look at the number of race cars and the all-wheel drive stuff that ran the drive shaft right next to the driver or right under the driver.
Oh, still bonkers.
I mean, I can think the Lotus 12 that you sat on top of the drive shaft. And I mean, and I almost would rather have the pumpkin there and have it, maybe explode or come apart, because it's not, it potentially could come out the side or the bottom. It's not necessarily going to blow up out of the top. But when the drive shaft comes apart, start flopping around, it's going to beat the hell out of you until you're dead. And then it's just...
Yeah, we just had a very long conversation about scatter shields on all race cars that are at the shop right now. It's like,
oh yeah,
I mean, where the stock car, when it actually hits the racetrack, is going to be 800 plus horsepower and probably 9,000 RPM SP2.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's protect the jewels, man. Protect your feet, protect your legs, protect everything.
I just don't understand scatter shields. I know what they do in that, but and I guess they do prevent some injuries, but
Prevent a lot of.
I mean, when a flywheel comes out of that bell housing or a clutch comes out of that bell housing, it's not going to be the friendliest thing in the world. I know.
No, it's not. But I mean, a really good scatter shield really does. A really good scatter shield will take a flywheel from a 4,000-pound Pro Mod and redirect it to keep it from coming inside the car.
Mm-hmm. And I know a few guys that have, I mean, that scatter shield has taken it from I lost my leg to I got some pretty bad cuts and bruises,
right.
and then I didn't just get my leg chopped off. So, I mean, I think they're important.
Hey, Jason popped up in there, paddle shift and dual clutch transmissions.
Yeah.
Well, I go back to the Armstrong Sidleys and that from the 50s and that, or even
Cord pre-selectors.
The pre-selectors. Though to me, those are just dual clutches without the computers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something. I guess it goes back to our old conversations or the statement I make. Nothing in a car today that's innovative hasn't been tried in the past. I mean, even self-driving cars have been tried in the past. I don't think they were very successful. Look, Mom, no hands.
I think paddle shift and dual clutch, though, is definitely more. And synchro mesh now, Toby said.
Synchro mesh.
I mean,
and actually, John,
they're more innovations than milestones, though. That's definitely more of an innovation than a milestone.
I mean, actually, interestingly enough, some of the first sketches of a self-propelled vehicle, and we're going to the 14th century with Leonardo da Vinci here, was not only self-propelled but self-driving. The mine cart that he drafted and was envisioning, again, going back to just to save the donkeys from dying. That's literally why he did this. It was a spring wound machine, so it was kind of clock movement based, right? But it actually had cogs and pegs that you could wind each spring and set certain distances that it would actually run, and then one spring would stop, and it would actually, of course, stop one of the drive wheels. The other one would go, it would turn, and then they'd start both running again. And they could actually, his idea was you would program the path of the mine to go down in with the cart.
Has anybody ever tried to build that out of those drawings?
Yeah. Okay. Google it. There's a university. I want to say a university in Italy did it. I have a model of it, maybe about 6 by 6 inches. You can't do all of the programming, but you can see everything and you can wind it up and make it drive.
You have to push it backwards until it starts clicking.
No,
let it go.
It's got a wind on it, kind of like a clock
string that goes through it.
Yeah,
it's one of those SSTs.
Yeah. Yep.
Evil Knievel motorcycle sparks on the jet engine.
Yes,
I think the removal of steering wheel mounted spark and timing levers is probably more of the innovation rather than putting them there.
Well, what about the steering wheel itself?
Yeah, that would fall into that,
because that is extremely important. Right around 1901, Packard's one of the first to introduce the steering wheel to the automobile because they're both fascinated with boats, and the steering wheel actually comes from boats rather than the automobile. Early on, of course, it was tiller steering, and the Packard brothers bring the idea of a boat-style steering wheel to the automobile.
Only to eventually evolve into an airplane-style steering wheel, as we discussed earlier.
as soon as you started going down
That'd
that
be cool.
path, Derek, my brain, I had these very vivid visions of a full pack of Indy cars at the Indy 500 or NASCARs at the Daytona 500, and then the in-car shots with everybody steering with the tiller.
Yes.
In a modern IndyCar or NASCAR, or like go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans and you've got all the prototypes and everybody's steering with a tiller.
I want to know when. I mean, we're going to the the aircraft double yoke like this. When are we going to go to the single stick steering in a car? Just
Didn't Saab did that? Saab did it in a prototype.
probably.
They did. They had it was like a yoke that you twisted like this, and then you had a yaw on the yoke as well, and it was all like right out of the center of the dash. And it was just
Okay, so that's really weird because no joke, the first 13 Duriers that were built, considered the first mass produced car in America, 1896, if I recall correctly. Hope I got the year right there. The only surviving ones at Henry Ford Museum. So I've actually had the opportunity to go over the car and understand it and look at it, and no joke, the tiller steering on that actually has that kind of control system. It actually has where you turn the hand, you can actually turn the handle, and then the gearing is actually through a almost telescoping system in the tiller. It's a very weird setup. We never got to, I never had the car operating and driving, but I did get enough time with it to understand how some of it worked. And of course, you never know how it fully works until you have it operating. But it was it was just, I had to sit there and actually look at it for quite a long time to figure out exactly how that all worked.
What is this and why?
Yeah, and there's another great discussion of innovation. I saw Toby put up electric starter earlier, but just the standardization of controls in an automobile, how your essentially standard layout is going to be: steering wheel, blinker, windshield wipers, the pedals on the floor, clutch, brake, gas. All of that is huge because in the early 1900s, you had to go to school. Your chauffeur typically had to go to school to learn how to drive multiple different vehicles because they all operated differently.
That makes sense. That does make sense. Jason's bringing up drum brakes, disc brakes, power assists, and finally anti-lock brakes. And let's just go ahead and add ABS to that. And
anti-lock brakes or ABS, are they not?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got it. Oh, never mind. I read it out, and that's how tired I am.
All he left out is the word system. You realize that ABS.
I'm flipping you off in my mind right now. But from what Jason said, though, what about like modern safety, modern vehicular safety, brought on by Mercedes spending? What were they spending? Was it, they used to tout they spent, was it $1 million a day on safety? I don't know whether they still do that or not, but they used, like back in the 80s or 90s, they were talking about we spend $1 million a day every day on safety was one of their ad campaigns. I think modern crush zones, everything that Jason just typed, even anti-lock brakes. Jason, good job on that. He got it in there.
Crumple zones, crush zones, whatever you want to call them, are huge. And even the way cars are engineered to break apart in high impact situations where there's actually the stress points in the frame to actually shear in to keep that passenger compartment safe, and to remove the force and allow it to go away from the passengers is just incredible.
I was involved in an accident about a week ago. I got hit sitting still. Estimates are somewhere between the car that hit me was going about 35 to 40 mile an hour when it hit me.
Oof.
And it it's crazy because you talk about the crush zones. You look at the outside, it was the Pacifica that I got hit in, and I got hit by a Prius. And the front end of the Prius doesn't look as bad as you'd think it would look. The back end of my van, I mean, the hatch is done, both in and out. Bumper cover's done, absorber's done, impact bar's done. It actually swayed the whole back of the van. You could see the gap in between the right side tail lamp is opened up and the gap on the left side's closed up. The left quarter is buckled under the fuel filler. And then they got the bumper off and realized that the rear body panel, part of the unibody, is actually crushed. And it did its job really well, but I'm here to tell you, I'm in pain, y'all. Like we as human beings are still the weakest link in that equation by far.
Mhm.
There's without a doubt.
But now imagine if that was
if it had been a straight rail, like a straight frame 70 Torino. Yeah.
Exactly.
I would have taken more of a brunt, and that Prius would have been absolutely totaled.
Mm-hmm.
Totaled.
And how about just the essentially what most people refer to as the crash pad on the dash panel, soft. Let's call it soft dashes instead of metal dashes. And I could speak to that because when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was involved in a head-on collision, and I probably should have gone through the windshield, honestly.
Right.
I was in the front seat middle, and we were driving on the side road, dirt road, that runs alongside of our farm. So, not wearing seatbelts, completely inappropriate. Should have had seatbelts on, but you're on a farm growing up back then, especially, seatbelts weren't used a lot. Always wear your seatbelt. And the only thing that kept me from going through that windshield was my aunt, who was driving, reached over at the last minute and put her arm in front of me on my waist. And
that kept you from going through the windshield.
What she did is she grabbed my waist, and what it did is instead of lifting off the seat, I folded at my waist, and my right across here hit the metal dash. And when the ambulance got there, they thought I had broken my nose because it took them about 10 minutes to get there. And that entire 10 minutes, I was pouring blood out of my nose.
For sure.
My sister, who was sitting next to me, slid down in the seat and left on the metal glove box door, left the imprint of her 2 kneecaps.
Ugh.
And my aunt had pretty bad lacerations on her face from hitting the steering wheel. We were hit head on by a drunk driver. So
had that capsule that you were supposed to do exactly what your sister did.
Dive down
slide down under the dashboard.
Well, if you're going to do that, don't have a metal glove box door right in front of you.
Did Tucker wasn't the first padded dash, was it? No, he didn't come up with that one, did he?
Came up with everything else.
I mean, he was obviously trying to innovate safety.
I'm trying to think. That's a good question, John. I don't know the answer to that one, whether his was padded or not.
Talk about crush zones and them being done properly or going back far enough to where engineers just didn't know. I've had a couple split window buses over the years, and if you've ever been in the VW bus, an old air cooled, even the Vanagons, even when they went to Vanagons, with the driver out in front of the front axle, it feels like you're on a tilt-a-whirl when you're driving those things. Like you drive past the corner and then
turn,
and then the vehicle turns behind you, and you're like you're hovering over the curb as you're turning around. It's so weird, man. But there's the crush zone is your knees. The crush zone is you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your feet get to the accident before anything else does.
Yeah.
But how long did that design last? When it really, because Ford put it on the Econoline vans, Dodge did in the A100s and that in the 60s, and Mitsubishi, Toyota vans of the 80s, the minivans.
Volkswagen carried it into the 80s.
Yeah,
with Vanagons, they carried it into the 80s.
They carried that.
There's still public transportation buses that are built that way.
Yeah, but those are. I mean, that's a little bit better. Just a lot more metal.
It was bigger.
I mean, the Isuzu box trucks or whatever, the chassis cabs are. I always think of but to me, it's a truck and it's going to be a little bit stronger. But as cool as the VW buses are, they were kind of death traps. I've known a couple people, or knew a couple people that passed away in those.
Jason just brought up bias ply to radial tires. I mean, Jason, do you have what's the problem with driving down a perfectly smooth road and still feeling like you're driving on a washboard while you go side to side all the way down the road? What's wrong with that, man?
Driving down a perfectly smooth road in a vehicle that looks like it has round things on each corner, but they're actually triangles. Oh my God. That, or doing a really good burnout with a bias ply tire. And then all of a sudden you just have like a bunch of frayed string flying out all over the place. It's wonderful.
So does that mean that retreads aren't up on that list either?
No, they're not.
Gotta love
100% are not. It used to be the thing, man. You get some repops, go to the drag strip, get some repops.
We've only got like 3.5 minutes to come up with the wow one, though. We haven't come up with
the internal combustion engine and the automobile itself.
Dun, dun, dun.
Man.
I would go with internal combustion engine.
Yeah. At the turn of the century, from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, I know, well, nobody that listens to this show is probably going to gripe, but it truly was green technology. And I think we've said that on the show before. It was cleaner than the horse-drawn vehicles, at least in the cities. Okay, I'm going to clarify that. Within the cities, it was actually a cleaner technology than allowing all the horses to be out on the streets. They all have to go to the bathroom. They go wherever they want. They're animals. When they died, they just unhook them, flop them to the side, get a new horse, and keep moving. I mean, go look it up. There are pictures of kids playing in the late 1800s next to dead horses in the street. Not clean at all. We've come a long way since then, but it was a huge, because you have to remember also at this time, we are playing with electric, steam, and gas internal combustion engines, all at the same time, fighting for what's going to be best. And a lot of things came together for internal combustion to take over, but it was a huge factor.
I would say, yeah. I say that got me thinking, and I just Googled it, and I doubt if I can get the flip side of it. There's 284 million vehicles that operate on roads throughout the United States as of 2021. That's a hell of a lot of horses.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be, could it be something that enables the cars to do what we do with them? Because another milestone would be our interstate highway system, or any interstate highway system anywhere in the world.
Completely.
I mean, that's a huge deal.
Roads in general, are a major mile, and that goes to what John posted on Facebook a little. I don't know how earlier today when we were talking about the fact that we're going to talk about this topic, but infrastructure, just the infrastructure and the change that we're going to see to electric charging stations. And John, I read that. I didn't comment on the post, but I think you mentioned that the corner gas station was the quick stop, whatever you want to call it. This was going to be the end of it. I think a little bit the end of it, but I think really what you're going to see is more of the the corner gas station turning into something that more resembles the I call it turnpike or toll road rest areas. The actual rest stops where you're going to pull in, you're going to park, you're going to charge, you're going to go in the building, you're going to grab a drink or something a bite to eat. There's going to be a restroom. You're going to sit down while your car charges for 15 minutes, and then you're going to go out, get in, and take off again.
A mandatory Buc-ee's every 50 miles of interstate.
No.
You got a mandatory Buc-ee's or Sheetz.
I think your theory's kind of there, but I don't see gas stations on interstates in that changing much. They'll go from gas pumps to chargers, and you're kind of right there. But if I drive down, okay, I drive out of my neighborhood. There's a gas station. You can come to an intersection. There's 3 gas stations, one on each corner. That stuff's going to go away. You'll have one convenience store, maybe 2 convenience stores.
But wait. Why is it going to go away?
Because the idea of electric is a convenience thing. People are going to charge at home. And the reason we have gas stations is you've got to put these, 1,000, 10,000 gallon tanks in the ground to hold gas. Why can't your local grocery store put in 10 charging stations? And then when you go to the grocery store, you just plug in at the grocery store. And then when you go to the post office, you plug in at the post office. You won't have to go to a destination to get electricity. The electricity will be everywhere you are. You'll go to McDonald's, and instead of going through the drive-through, you park. And it's going to get to a point, and some manufacturers are playing with it with wireless charging for your car. So even if you're at the drive-through at McDonald's, that whole lane could be a wireless charger, and you pull in, and the whole time you're there, you're charging. You could even do it at intersections where, the first 6 places, say, for cars are in-ground chargers. And you just kind of, while you're sitting there at a red light, you're charging.
I just picture human beings being induction cooked, like the whole there's a charging lane on the interstate, and there's 1.5 million cars in the charging lane on the interstate, and every human being that's in those cars is getting slowly roasted.
But that picture
smells like chicken.
Right. That picture I put up of the Shell station that looked like a Sonic where you're going to charge. You go to Sonic, you'll go ahead and order, and you'll plug in while you're there. It's to me yes, Shell's doing what they can, and I think Exxon or Chevron or something showing, it seems to be big this week. These gas stations showing how we're going to move to electric cars, and we're going to start putting charging stations in. They need to start looking at what is going to be our business model. Because that destination to get fuel isn't going to be needed or exist.
No, I think that's a valid point. I honestly hadn't thought about, John. But you're right. I should have thought about it, because even at the Corvette Museum, we have, I believe it's either, I should have looked before I left work tonight. It 4 to 6. It's Charging America, but it's either 4 or 6 parking spots that you pull in, and there's an awning over them. There's charging units right there. You swipe your card, you plug in, you come in the museum, you either go to our restaurant, or you go walk around our store, or you go walk the museum for 20 minutes, a half hour. You go back out, your car's charged, you head off. You're not stopping at a gas station. You're stopping at a destination or somewhere you were already planning to go, unlike how we have to do gas stations. So you have I think, a very valid point.
Like I said, I can see them being on the interstate, or, like you're on a toll road and you have that gas station every 80 miles or something. I can see there being charging stations there. But like I said, in a city, gas stations are dead. So sell your gas station stock and start buying these charger station stocks, and our financial tip of the show. But it's just that, I guess, what did it used to be, Derek? 100 years ago, 115 years ago, you'd pull into a convenience store and you buy a jar of gasoline or whatever.
Hardware store, typically.
And now and that eventually evolved into gas pumps and gas stations. And I think we're going to see it, they're going to go, gas stations are going to kind of go away. There'll be a refreshment stop. But there might be one of our biggest changes upcoming. I mean, electric cars are going to, I think electric's the way everything's going to go right now. That seems to be what everybody's legislating in, not to get political. And, it's going to, I think the convenience is going to outweigh. Hydrogen might be a better alternative, but it's one reason so many celebrities own electric cars, because they don't have to go to gas stations anymore. They don't have to deal with the public there. They charge in their garage. They go to their studio. They plug in at the studio. They go home. I know for a fact, Penn Jillette, the comedian, he drives a Nissan Leaf. I mean, he used to have a Mini, but as soon as the Leaf came out and he found out he could fit in it, I mean, he's a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has a charger at, I can't remember where they perform in Vegas, wherever their stage is. And he has one at his house. And that's the only places he goes. If he goes anywhere else, he's in a chauffeured car and he doesn't care. But for him to commute back and forth to work, it's an electric car because he doesn't have to stop anywhere. Oh, and I did do the numbers. There are over 1 billion cars in the world right now, and 58,372,106 horses. At what date, I don't know. But so think if we had all those horses, like you said, Derek, dying every day, pooping and eating, and I think you think you just made the case that the gasoline car is actually green technology, even to this day.
The largest source.
It's way cleaner today than it was back then.
The beef industry, the beef industry provides the largest source of methane, greenhouse gas pollution in the world. Now, imagine we went from 58 million horses to 1 billion horses on top of all those cows.
You're going to have to be 1 billion to 1 billion 5 because cars last a few years. Horses are going to.
Horses are good for 20.
20.
I think the next.
Now wait. If they're just horses, now figure they're going to have to be a working horse where they're pulling the carriage, which with a family of 4 in it, you're cutting down the life cycle of that horse, or at least the usable life of the horse. Maybe not the life span of the horse, but that horse is not going to be pulling that carriage its entire life.
Yeah.
All right. When I come to power, my campaign promise will be a Clydesdale in every garage. How's that?
Ooh, I like that.
As long as I get the beer wagon with it. I was just thinking what Derek said is you're right. They're going to pull that family of 4. They're going to go to Costco. They're going to load up on everything at a Costco. Just, it's.
Hence my problem-solving skills with the Clydesdales. The Clydesdale would just pull Costco home for you.
Those are kind of shaggy horses. Now we got to deal with groomers. And what do we do with all the horse hair? And we guess.
You take the horsehair and then you make the insulation to go in the headliner of all the German cars that are getting ready to be made.
There you go.
Yeah.
And think of it this way. Your no offense, your car doesn't judge you. The horse would probably look back and give you a judgmental look if you were loading down the carriage with a bunch of stuff from Sam's Club.
Are you sure your car doesn't judge you? I'm pretty sure I have cars judge me on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Haven't
sure.
you ever went to a dealer, Derek, and thought about trading a car, and then you leave and you notice your car acts up for the next couple of days?
Well, true. No, actually, it actually normally after I do that, it behaves really, really well. It's like, what? Oh, he was at a dealership. I'm good. I'm a good boy.
Mine usually start acting up, and that's why I get rid of them. Maybe they should. maybe my cars should talk to your cars. And
It's like when we were younger. Like, I don't know if you guys, when we were kids, of course, growing up, at least in my case, growing up with a dad that worked on cars and learning, I'd be driving home from school and I'd be like, what's that noise? Something's not right. And you'd get home and then, dad would get home from work and you'd be like, hey, my car was making a weird noise. Okay, let's take it out for a drive. And it ran perfect. No noise. I mean, you could have been driving home and the thing could have been going thunka, 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 and the number 3 could have been ready to come out the side of the block. But when dad got in it, it ran perfect.
It was scared. It was scared of your father.
Exactly.
Absolutely scared of your father.
well,
It's always amazed me how many mechanical issues you can hear on the final lap of a race that you're winning. It's just like you hear every single creak and groan and pop, and it's not going to make it. I know it's not going to make it. It's just not. It's not going to bring it home. It's heightened sense of awareness in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
We've run over, haven't we?
Oh, we way run over, but we've talked horses, we've talked electric cars, we've talked rocket bombs, we've talked about everything tonight.
Split window buses, man.
Join us next week, same time, same place, for another episode of, I don't know, I started watching
old
Vaudeville
gloves.
stuff.
It's in the corner.
Burns and Allen and Jack Benny last night, and however those shows ended, that's how I just felt. Join us next time as our old radio program. But I'm out of here, guys. You take it easy. Listeners, NoDrivingGloves.com. Buy us a coffee there. Listen to a lot of the old back episodes. Check us out on YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever all that BS is. And Facebook's the best place to get updates on the show and occasionally a witty little comment. But that's it for me tonight. Later.
Bye-bye.
Night.